Hello, everyone, and thank you once again for joining me, Jan Hart, and my husband, Mr. Chris. Late night with Chris and Jan. Get the whole technique thing down the way that you'll like it.
It don't have to be perfect.
Doesn't have to be perfect.
It has to be natural.
Humble beginnings. Natural.
Yeah, natural works best.
But we want
real people.
We want to make sure that we have a little bit of order to what we're doing. So, again, tonight we're going to start off with who was the weakest link for
No,
the day.
it's you again. We can't do that.
It's okay. It's okay. Now, see, we discussed this a little bit earlier, and I'm completely okay with letting my flaws be known. Like today, I was definitely, and it's not funny either. It's not funny. I put everybody's life at risk. I was the weakest link today. I was completely the weak. Go ahead. Explain it.
It kind of wasn't your fault either, but you just didn't look. Well, she just got we rented a car today and it was a dirty car. Fingerprints all in it, everything. They ain't do nothing to wipe the car down or anything. Nothing. Tissue in it.
In the passenger side door, there was a piece of tissue there.
She took the car anyway and went whipping into the street.
I didn't look. There were so many signs in the place, and all the signs said, stay sanitized. See, I want you to tell the whole story, because see, this is the whole story details. No, it's a big picture here. The big picture started way when we first walked in, and I kindly asked the lady if she could just observe the signs. There were signs everywhere that said, observe social distancing, stay back from people 6 feet away. So, anywho, because we had to go out of the city for a little bit today, and we had to get a rental. So, which really sucked. Didn't want to have to do this at all. But social workers have to work. So we get this car, and because of all these signs, and the lady already got upset with me for asking her to observe social distancing. Not only did she get upset, she left back out, went around the car. She was mad at me. She was really upset. So then when we were leaving out, I'm saying where's the sanitizer, blah, 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 blah. And this one here was saying what? What did you say?
It's in the car.
No, you said don't worry about it because they wiping everything down. That's what.
You can't put that on me.
Sitting. Yes. See that?
I said sitting in the lobby.
And I was saying I wasn't even gonna sit on anything because.
Exactly, but
I didn't want to expose anything. But he's like, no, everything is sanitized. So it was like I was letting my guard down. That's like peer pressure.
No, it's not.
Yes, it's peer pressure because at the end of the day, when I asked the lady very nicely, could you please observe social distancing? And she gave me that negative reaction. It caused me to shut down on the inside. And I did not want to cause anyone any ill feelings today. We have enough stress. So I said to myself, maybe I'm taking social distancing a little bit too seriously. Maybe I'm being overbearing. And so then my husband comes in and he sits down. It was not my plan to sit down or touch anything. I wasn't going to touch anything. I was going to sit anywhere. I was going to stay away from people. But he came down and he just plopped in the seat like it was okay. And he said, no, it's because, they're sanitizing everything. And as we're walking out, I'm seeing all the signs and everything is saying sanitize, sanitize, sanitize.
Just the office, not the car, apparently.
So I got into the car. I let my guard down. I got into the car. And sure enough, when I drive away, as I'm with my arm on the driver's side door, I realized that there's all these, fingerprint marks. And I'm like, that don't seem right if they wiped it. At least they should look smudged or something. Like it's just fingerprints. And so then I just happened to look to the side. And sure enough, in the passenger side door, there was tissue. Passenger side floor had, like you could tell, like a little traffic from when someone came and sat down. And then later on, when we opened up the trunk, lo and behold, the trunk had dirt in it.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the Lysol. We had the sanitizer. We had all that stuff. But it was in the car that we came in. And I just got into the car and just drove away and left the sanitizer and the Lysol in the car for Mr. Chris.
But we got it taken care of, so hopefully.
I know in 3 to 14 days. Oh, well, so that was our weakest link story for the day. So we don't know what's going on at your house, but take a moment. pay attention to what's going on around you. Just take a little eye, cut a little side eye at your cousin, or cut a little side eye at your auntie. Just say, auntie, you just did a weak link moment right there. No, don't do that anymore. We trying to flatten the curve, auntie. Flatten the curve. Okay.
Whatever that means.
Right, because on to other things that are trending and information that's going on in the world. Italy, their numbers have gone down, and I really want to understand what numbers going down mean, because one day they had 800 and something deaths. It went down the next day to I don't know. Don't quote me on that one. Yeah, 6 something. It went down by 200, and then boom, 2 days later, it shot right back up to 800 and something. So my thing is what do you actually mean when you say numbers went down? Because when I'm looking at, the Wall Street Journal, can you see that?
See that?
Yes, here you go. There you go.
Okay.
The Wall Street Journal.
But it's backwards.
It is? Okay. Well, yes, you see it. It's the Wall Street Journal. It's not mine. It's the Wall Street Journal. And they're saying that, Italy is hopeful that the coronavirus pandemic is slowing down. But the issue with that is...
But there it is.
Oh, there we go. Okay. So if you could see this this
That's
chart...
different countries.
This is different countries. So it went off on us, but it had the U.S., Italy, Spain, China, United Kingdom, South Korea. That's because these are the places that are still reporting high rates of death over the 10,000 mark, except for South Korea. They're kind of hovering right there at the 10,000 mark. But for all of these countries, like I said, they say the numbers are going down, but when you look at the chart, all the numbers are going this way.
China flattened out, and then South Korea is always low,
right,
flattening out.
But at the same point in time, that flattening out,
all of us are kind of going up.
Yeah, everybody except for Spain and South Korea is steadily on the rise. But even South Korea and China, even though they're doing this at that same level. It's not like they're doing that. It's not going down at all. It's it's just at a plateau, and it's just kind of hovering there. So my thing is that you can say, okay, it went down because today there's 200 less or, 100 less. But unless it's able to bring you beneath a certain, barometer, then I don't think it should be recognized.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Did you watch the news all day today?
Mm-hmm. I didn't watch it all day today.
Well, I mean, I'm saying, since we've been back.
No, I just didn't see the chart or whatever. I didn't really watch it today, too. I watched a little bit of it. No, I watched the president's speech and how they tried to do their social distancing on TV. It was hilarious.
But wait, before we get to that, because that's on the list. We're going to talk about the president and his...
But did you see it?
I love when he comes on TV. No, but I read it. I like to read the news as much as possible. I like to read it. But so... these places, even when they're, kind of hovering at their plateau, they've reached the apex maybe, because they're still trying to even define what that means. Right now, even if you look at this same article, they talk about how Italy is the first country to do the quarantine measures. And so they're looking at Italy as the example, is this going to work? Is it working? And so on and so forth. And that's where they are right now, following Italy to see whether or not these quarantine measures that everyone else has followed suit.
Yeah, it's like the first European country, I think. But I think China started doing it first because they had the epidemic. Yes. So they had to isolate the city.
But see, China took it to a different level. That's what they were saying in the article also. They were talking about how China took it to a different level because remember, China, they're on the cutting edge right now. Their officers have masks that allow them to read body temperatures when they're just standing in the vicinity of people. Mm-hmm. So the thing is that, they took it to the extreme. They didn't just do lock down this street voluntarily, don't go anywhere voluntarily. We know you came here for a 7-day vacation, but quarantine for 14 voluntarily, exactly. So, but China was like, no, you're not leaving your house. You come out if you want to.
And the president
it's
today,
not happening.
Whatever I did hear him
so about the president
giving kudos to our governor, who ain't did nothing.
To see it? seen
Yes.
this. Is this one
he
here?
talked about him on the what's the name? It's ridiculous.
Did he say how great he is?
Oh no, he talked about how great he was.
The president said how great he was. He's still a 10?
Yes.
He's still a
great.
10.
He's doing a magnificent job, him and his team.
Yes.
As usual. Could no one do it better? Like he said, can't do it better than him and his team.
Yes. I hear it so many times that sometimes I start to, just believe it. Like, yes, you're doing great. Like, everything is great. And it's been great since great was around and people could say great. And it's just great because everything is great. That is great.
Yeah.
And it's
it
great.
Works, though.
Yes. By the time you just say great and it's great. I'm sure he said that everything they're doing in Florida is great.
Yeah, you have to snap yourself out of it.
The ventilators are great.
Mm-hmm.
The ventilators are great.
No, we just don't have enough. They don't have enough of them. Ventilators. We don't need them that much yet because we ain't testing nobody to know if they so we don't need ventilators.
Can we talk about that part?
Because we're not even testing to see if you have coronavirus.
And that's the crazy part. Like,
if
we're
you
not
die of it, it's just natural cause. It's not the coronavirus. It was just a natural cause. It was their time. That's how we look at it in Florida.
Yes.
We don't even register that.
And no, that's not just Florida. Oh, that's all across the U.S., especially, in the red states, that if you are waiting for your test to come back, if you get sick and while you're waiting to see a doctor, you pass away, whether in your house or at the medical facility where you went to for help, like wherever you expire at, if you have not already received the diagnosis for COVID-19, then they're not recording your death as COVID-19. Yeah, they're not trying to figure out whether it was or any of that. Yeah, it's just natural causes. Like whatever they can do to bring the number down. I don't know if that's part of the whole flattening the curve movement, but if they can bring the number down by not recording, or not taking the time to find out what the true cause was in this climate, when they know that we need to know what the real cause was and exactly how many people in our society are infected and how many people they've been around who've been possibly exposed. Until we have widespread testing, I mean, if we've learned anything from other countries, we've learned that is going to keep us from effectively combating this situation. Like, we're just going to be another 2 weeks and another 2 weeks until suddenly one day it's great. It's great.
It's always great.
It got to 0 and it just suddenly disappeared. What do you think?
That's just it. That's how they think. So his team and his crew, they awesome. They are awesome. So let's go on to the next thing.
Okay.
What else we have?
So, I don't know if you have any comments about the president and his speech today.
When you see this video,
leave it in the comments. Yeah, just leave it in the comments. We don't know what to say about the president, except that I will say this, because as a social worker, we're supposed to always look at people's strengths and identify things about them that, go contrary to what they hear all the time that might be negative about themselves. So if by any chance President Trump was to ever see this, I just want you to know that one of your strengths is making people laugh. And I love to laugh. I love to laugh. And at the end of the day, even though we're supposed to take him very, very seriously, at this point, unless you're a part of the 33% of the U.S. that, supports him and believes everything he's talking about, the rest of us should understand that, when he comes on, that is our comic relief moment, and embrace it as such, so that you're not stressed out because the president is scaring the living dickens out of everybody whenever he gets to the microphone.
Of course.
Enjoy his, satire, and then click over to the real news after you finish enjoying that satire, and then find out what's really going on from, like I said, check in on Andrew Cuomo. He's awesome. He tells it like it is.
Mm-hmm.
He's like,
I don't think he gave him any praise today.
Wow, when he's saying that close to 1 million people could die if we don't get this thing under control.
But he said he helped New York, so even though they did do something. So.
They did, but at the end of the day, they still gave them less because, what they did was they gave like all states similar packages, even if the states didn't have very many cases. So when you have a situation like you have in New York or Washington or California, where, you know, there's these exorbitant numbers of people who are constantly testing positive, you would think that he would want to send extra supplies there. But from what I understand, he has 10,000 ventilators that are, you know, on standby. He's going to get word early. So right now is not, I guess, early enough. Even though everyone is trying to gather resources at this time, because within the next 2 to 3 weeks is supposed to start, you know, all of this, you know, breakout of cases. And apparently the president feels as though we need those 10,000 ventilators to, you know, stay in wherever he has them, whatever bunker he has them in, he needs them to stay there. And I personally believe that they're going to stay there until he figures out which person was nicest to him.
Probably.
And then whichever governor was nicest to him, that's who'll get it, along with more accolades about being great.
Exactly.
Because everything is great. We're going to make America great because everything's great.
Let's move on.
This is not great?
It's
this
enough
discussion
from the
not great?
president.
Okay, I'm sorry. President discussion not great. All right. So the next thing, we said paying bills during the coronavirus. So Lizzo did send lunch out to nurses and some different medical places today. So that was very nice.
Who's that?
So
I'm confused.
Jesus. Anywho, well, there are a lot of different, you know, celebrities and different corporations who are sending out, it's not that, who are sending out, you know, different types of aid. And at the end of the day, how do you feel about that? Because
everything helps. Everything helps, and people working long, dangerous hours. The medical staffs and stuff, you know, so they're sleeping in the hospital. They ain't going home, so they need all the support they can get, especially from us, who they are helping and sacrificing so much for. So.
Oh, every time I encounter somebody that's at work, I tell them thank you for their service. The same way I would almost like the military personnel, like, you know, just thank you for what you're doing right now. So there was another article that was trending today. It was on LinkedIn. Mark Cuban, is that his name again? Yes, Mark Cuban. Okay, so he's a billionaire, and he is saying that brands are going to be defined for a long, long time after this pandemic is over, based on how they're responding during this pandemic.
I can see that.
But do you think that that is motivating them to do things one way or another? Because I mean, in the
regardless of why you do it, as long as it's getting done. If it's helping people and it's getting done, why you do it is no consequence to anything. If I did it for publicity or brand, as long as it helped.
I mean, it's just so many different ways to look at it for me, but I don't know. Sometimes I think that we get duped when people swoop in, you know, during an emergency time, and then they make this big brouhaha, and then we're like, oh, you know, they're a caring, they're a compassionate company, and blah, 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 blah. But like before this, they weren't a caring and compassionate company. They still have their, you know, employees at work. That's not caring and compassionate. I think it was.
We can get on the point of that later on the overall view of why you did stuff in your company after the pandemic is over. But if you're doing something that's going to help to get this, you know, give people relief and help them, I don't care why you did it. It just don't matter at that point. As long as somebody did something.
Okay.
You know, if it would cause what he's saying will cause a slew of corporations to get in there and do more and help, who cares?
Because
it's a good trick.
It's a good trick, but I'm just saying, like if we look at it and we say to ourselves, okay, people's brands are going to be defined by what they do right now, and someone is duping me into giving their brand the benefit of the doubt, or giving them, you know, this open, you know, heart and mind, and
but
giving the big picture there.
You know, but we ain't seeing too many of them do anything anyway. So apparently it's not be working good. It's whatever he doing, Mark Cuban, it ain't started yet. It's come later, because I don't know who's doing what. I ain't heard none of them mention about doing anything.
But no, the thing is, it's like, you know, I'm not going to say the names, but if you know, like I say, anything that I mention on here, they're trending stories. So if you Google it, you'll find it. But there's a company, a local company that employs people, and they just changed their policy. You're talking about 2 weeks into self-quarantine here in Florida, and they just did all of the red tape to change their policy so that their workers can put on gloves and basically have their PPE materials on. They had to change the policy to allow them to put on gloves and masks.
Sometimes that's what you got to do.
That should have been immediate. Like, if you really care, that should be immediate.
I don't know.
Perspectives.
Exactly.
Yeah. But if anything, you know, the way that you're being treated by a brand right now, the way that a company is doing, like that car place, they never have to worry about me renting from them again. They're a major name car place, and I think that's unacceptable. I tried to even talk to the people in the Department of Health, like, what are you doing to make sure that these businesses are, you know, complying with the sanitizing and, you know, making things sanitary for people? Nothing. They don't even have a task.
You can always be caring.
Going on.
You can always be caring when everything's good. You know, some of them hard times and everything else when the situation switches up, and you got to get a little stern with your employees. Rule with iron fist.
Ain't nobody listening to you. Foolishness.
What do you mean vacation? You don't need no vacation.
Straight nonsense.
Quarter numbers are down. Get them back.
And that's the reason why I keep explaining to people, there's no reason at all to be bored.
Mm-hmm.
You have a million ideas that you've been talking about. Now work on them, like really work on them. Exactly. Because this is what they're telling you, you know, subliminally or in an innuendo. They're saying that, you know what? Working on my passion and my dream is very important as long as you're doing it. And when you're doing it, you know, I'm going to give you the bare minimum to accomplish it because I'm going to get a bailout anyway. Like, at the end of the day, they're really getting that money and you're getting unemployment money in order for people to stay home. Like, there's no reason for you to be there. Did anybody even
get that yet?
No,
I got to check and see if anybody got a cut an unemployment check yet.
No, nobody cut
any checks 2 weeks.
Yet. I'm just saying, like, that is the incentive for businesses to let people stay home, is that they're going to get the unemployment. You're going to get the tax break. You're going to get the extra, you know.
Yeah, and some people have been out longer. Some people have already been out of work from this thing for like a month. 3 weeks to a month.
2 weeks. 3 weeks, yeah.
No. What's the name? We had a person that was 2 weeks before he even let us know. And it was, had just started.
Oh, yeah. Because the people who are in the hotel industry, they've been getting affected ever since it was an international problem because their customers come from the international.
Exactly.
So, yeah, they, you know, saw a loss in revenue like almost immediately as soon as there was a
because they started out with just cutting hours before they let people go. So they were cutting hours 2-3 weeks ahead of time. I mean, before they started letting people go.
But remember,
laying off people or whatever they're doing.
Now, if they get the loan, right, if they get any of that $500 billion money and they get a loan and they keep their employees, the loan is forgiven. Like, they don't have to pay it back. Now, for the constituents, if your loan not paid back in a year, then you get a 12% interest rate. But as long as they don't let their employees go, they get to keep that whole loan. It gets completely forgiven for them because they kept their employees. So what is the reason for them to have employees working right now unless they're truly, truly essential? Suppose you find out that your coworker has something a week after they have it, because remember, you're still contagious.
I doubt we'll know that you're going to go to the emergency room in Florida before you know you have anything, because they ain't testing you anyway. So it don't matter.
Oh,
they're not testing you, so I don't know where they're doing this testing at.
Sadness.
They showed it on the news, but I went by there and I didn't see it. So there you go. I saw it on the news, though. But I didn't see no testing going on. They had tents and everything outside. So I figured I was going to pull up. No, I didn't see none of that. I don't know where they filmed it, what studio they filmed it. I don't know.
Calling people in government office liars, are you?
I don't know. I just said I went, they said a location and I drove by there. I didn't see anything.
Stop talking about
it was. So I didn't mention it. I just said
you're saying that somebody reported something that's not true.
It was on the news, so I don't know. I saw it on the news, so when I went by there and I didn't see it. I didn't see a thing. It was like,
did you have on your glasses? Because you don't have on your glasses right now. If we was in a court of law, that's the first thing that a good lawyer would say was, when you were observing these places, did you have on your glasses.
I don't need my glasses to see far or whatever else. I just needed to read. I have reading glasses.
Were you prescribed glasses by a medical doctor?
Yes, I was.
So okay, well, if you were prescribed glasses
I didn't call nobody names, so you wouldn't take me. It doesn't matter.
That you need them to see, so your testimony here is invalid. Yeah.
I'm just going on my opinion. You're not a lawyer.
He don't know what he saw. He don't know what he saw. So any
I didn't see what I saw on the news.
Anybody on the news that might see this, he don't know what he's talking about. He can't even say it.
You know, they ain't seen it either. They didn't see it either. It was green screen or something.
I
didn't
can't.
see it either.
What's the next thing on my little list? Because he's trying to get us in trouble and we only on the episode. Okay. Paying bills during coronavirus. That's where we were supposed to be headed. Paying bills during coronavirus. Okay. So I saw this. This is a very interesting post today I saw on Facebook, and it just caught me. Like, the person was like, we need to call out these businesses that are making us pay rent. And I just thought, I was thinking about it for a minute before I responded. At first I wasn't gonna say anything because I don't want to offend anybody, but then I thought about it and I said, well, but suppose that was you. Like, suppose it was your business and that was how you made money. When did the time come that because you get laid off, everyone else should be laid off? Because that's essentially what you're saying, is that because I'm laid off through the no fault of my own, whatever money that you were supposed to get from me, all of that should stop because of the fact that I've been laid off. As horrible as it is on why people are being laid off, what the situation is, like, business owners, we still are in the same position. Like, I have to come up with a different stream of income. I have to come up with new creative ideas in order for me to be able to enter into the market with what people need right now. I don't have any commerce for people to buy, so it's not like I'm, here saying, oh, well, come over here and buy some sanitizer for me. I didn't know to stock up on sanitizer. I don't have any for sale. I need it for my house. So I mean, people have to come up with different ideas on things to do. So, like, you were outside the other day. I've been online telling people over and over again that, no, we have the creative genius within us to be able to get through these times. Like, there's no reason for us to be, like, totally thrown off guard. We've been making a way forever. Like, I don't get it. And then you went outside, and what did you end up buying? Like, what did you come across? Tell me.
I bought a face mask. Kids are making face masks out of old sheets and pillowcases and scarves. And I bought one.
Kids.
So
these are kids out there selling these. And when I see, we wasn't even thinking. We should have, tomorrow he gonna put it on.
Oh yeah, I should have put my.
Yeah, you should have put it on.
Scarf on, whatever.
But tomorrow we're not gonna
face
forget.
mask. But it's always stuff you could do. I never even thought of that. No, I don't need no regular mask or whatever. You can use.
You can use anything.
Hell, you know what else? The president said that today too.
What is that?
You don't really need masks. Said that society, you can wear scarves.
Anybody listen to him? Anybody listen to him?
He said, put on your scarf, find a scarf. You don't need a mask.
Why?
If we have no problem getting them.
No, you said we wasn't talking about him anymore.
We ain't talking about no more, but since we brought the scarf, we came up with the scarf. He said,
so he want the people in the hospitals to put on the
not
same
the
mask.
hospital people. See, that's not what he's saying.
Oh, so it's just everybody else.
He want everybody else to let the hospital staff keep the PPE. Y'all do the other stuff. Get wear the dishwashing gloves and put some tape on. Scarves.
Mary Martha. Joseph and John.
Get your trash bag put over here if you need that much coverage. There you go.
Back to
Saran wrap. Saran wrap.
Paying your bills. Paying your bills. We do not want to talk about the president. So, what do you think? So what do you think? Is it
two ways?
Like, how really in the big picture? Let me not even ask that question. Like, what do you think? Because a lot of people, they were just kind of like split down the middle. A lot of people felt like, this is craziness. Like, is this a joke? The post or whatever. And there was other people like, no, let me blast my people. Like, these are the ones asking me for money. So I mean, it was kind of like down the middle. So I'm not even gonna ask how you feel about that.
Business when you're in a small business and you got a couple employees or whatever else, and you got to lay them off because you're not getting no revenue or making no revenue because of the situation, you hurting too. Mm-hmm. So both people are hurting. Yeah. That's why the government had to speed up with their processes or whatever they're trying to work out. Because I ain't seen nobody cut a check yet. I don't think so. I don't know. I've been asking to see who got. No one got anything yet. So
we're not gonna repeat old news here. We already know people can't get through on the phone to unemployment. We're not gonna sit here and talk about that over and over.
Yeah, you clients, everything is ridiculous.
We know you can't find any assistance with the numbers that they're telling you to call, because everybody calling them numbers trying to get assistance. You know, once you say that you have millions of people using a system that's supposed to only accommodate maybe tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands at the most, then no, you're not getting through. You couldn't get through the unemployment before when it was only regular people.
But the thing is, too, though, is that we are still working on the particulars. Because there's for the situation, people being out of work, there needs to be help for them from the bottom so they can pay bills and pay. It's like a ladder. The other small businesses or whatever else, or rents and whatever essentials they need or whatever else, so those other people could pay their bills and get their essentials.
So if this is the thing, because there's still people who are working.
That's true.
Still people who are buying, still people who are selling. So
and if you have kind of a lot of people working in Florida.
And so if you have a portion of the population who is still doing business, they're still getting out every day, then that's almost the same, almost like a mirror reflection of what it was before this situation. So before this situation, you had an unemployed population, you had a reserve workforce. Now that this situation has happened, you just so happen to have a larger unemployed workforce. You have a larger, reserve of workers who, will be willing to jump in there and take that job. Boom, right?
Exactly.
So if you did not make concession for people in those situations before, you have these on the way concessions, right? That the government feel like, hey, that solved the problem. We sent them $1,200. They're going to get some unemployment. They good. So now where does it come in? The moral compassion.
That no one got that yet. I hear it.
Saying that's what the media is saying that people are gonna get, and there's a lot of
$1,200 like a unicorn. I can't believe it until I see it. It's a mermaid. That's $1,200. I hear them talk about it all the time, so I don't want to say that yet. It's a unicorn. I don't know what they got going on. I can't wait to see who qualifies for the $1,200. That's my whole thing. It's who gonna qualify for the $1,200. I can't wait, because some of the stuff they showing, I don't even know how anybody gonna be able to do anything to get any of that. They might give out $3 $1,200 checks.
Because we gonna divert
3
for
of
a
them
second.
out the whole populace.
No, remember we were talking about that earlier today, though. So now we were just pondering different scenarios. So let's just say in 2018. You had a different address or you had a different bank account.
You don't get that.
And now you didn't do 2019 yet. And I'm pretty sure if you do 2019 now, you're probably going to delay everything with yourself messing around with these folks.
My son ain't getting nothing. They don't know what account they had. They don't remember if they filed.
They said they filed.
What account they used to get a check. They don't know.
They can't remember.
They don't know if they got a paper check.
Where is it coming to? I'm like, well, where did you get your taxes in 2018 since you didn't file one filed 2019, the other one did. Like, well, where did you get your taxes sent to? Oh, I don't have that account anymore. Well, we just moved. I'm like, well, no, it don't work that way. Like, you have to have the updated information. So now I have to go searching around to find out how do people update their information. And if there's a couple million people trying to do that, then we already know where that's leading to. I sent in some information for somebody via email, so I'm waiting to see whether or not that
Tampa
works
gonna
better.
Be balling on them checks.
And yes, that's my dog in the background.
You talk about getting checks, Tampa gonna be balling on them checks if they know how to get people.
That's it. Cut in a legitimate way. Whoever's out there messing with people checks in the mail, be ashamed of yourself. You need to put.
But not those checks, because they ain't gonna be able to get those checks, because those checks ain't coming. You have to worry about those.
Listen, if people can find invisible Pokemon, and they in their phone and they follow them to that spot and they catch up with them and they feel glee and joy in their heart as if they just did something tangible, then I believe that this unicorn will be found.
I hope so. Let's go with the so we still stuck with the paying the bill thing. How that works?
Right, because I'm not going to ask you how you feel about having to pay
and
bills.
People opinions on that, because there's a lot of different opinions going to be on that. Because some people still working like, what? I don't know why people are out of work.
Well, my thing is this. I guess this is the perception that I want us to explore, which is, why do we feel as though there should be concessions?
If you're out of work?
Why? Because like I said,
it's
just a larger pool. It's a larger pool.
But if you've been laid off, yes, you should need, because it's not, it's I'm no fault of your own.
I'm not saying the government concessions. I'm talking about the moral concessions. Like, you want a business person to have a moral obligation to work with you because of your situation. It's almost like in social work, they have this note that goes on the door. You always, in any social work agency, you'll find one person's door that has this note that says, your lack of preparation does not make your situation an emergency. And I always feel like, that is so messed up. Like, when I see it, it's like you kind of laugh, but at the same point in time, you're like, man, that's messed up. Like, no, it is an emergency. Like, they in the last minute.
That's true.
It's true.
It's a true statement.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, we need to question that as far as society goes. So I have my own little perspective on it. I'm going to give my perspective because this is a unique situation, right? It's a pandemic. It's something we've never seen before. Like the president said, it's people dying that's never even died before.
Yes.
So when you have time,
hardest thing I've ever heard.
This means it's extraordinary times. That's what it means. It's extraordinary times. So being that it's extraordinary times like this, I just think to myself that, okay, we're asking people to have a moral obligation to essentially help us, right? Where does that come from? And why is that okay?
But everybody doesn't have that.
When I say everybody, yes, I'm speaking incorrectly.
Everybody don't have.
I'm saying the portion of society who feels that way, like all of those people. For the rest of us who's chiming in, like, why is that okay?
I guess it's something they fell for. I don't know. You're not paying attention if you believe that in our society. You're just not focused at all.
Now, this is the way I see it, right? And this might not go across so well with everybody, but I really so believe in the 99% being in the same situation. We all in the same bowl. Some of us are marshmallows and some of us are cereal bits, but we in the same bowl.
Is there milk?
Yes, there's milk. We all trying to swim against the tide.
Now
someone, you know what? The people, the powers that be, they the ones that got the spoon. You know how when you get your cereal and you kind of want all of them to get covered by the milk, so you do a little stir? Those are the people that, the powers that be, they got the spoon and they stir us around ever so often, and they make the marshmallows feel like they special. Y'all in a different boat than the cereal bits because you a marshmallow.
Okay. All righty.
But at the end of the day, you all gonna get eaten. At the end of the day, you're getting on that spoon, and that's it for you. That's it for you. But so the way that I look at it is that, there's a portion of society who has some privilege. Okay, and so now they on different sides of the spectrum. Whether they believe they have privilege, they don't believe they have privilege. I don't get any benefit from this so-called privilege. I mean, it goes across the spectrum. But at the end of the day, you interact with the world in a different way because you have been trained from young to expect a certain kind of response when you're in situations. You expect for this response to be according to the lines of your privilege. So if you're waving a gun, you don't necessarily think that the cops are going to shoot you because you're waving that gun. They're going to come and they're going to say, don't wave that gun. Put the gun down. This is just a stressful moment and you'll get past this. If you go to customer service and they do something wrong to you and you ask for the supervisor's listening to you. They're actually taking into account that you had a bad experience. I'm so sorry that happened. I just can't even believe that my associate would act that way. But I promise you, I'm going to get on that immediately.
But we talking about the check stuff here.
No, we diverted. We're talking about why it is that people believe that there should be moral concessions, and I'm trying to break down the way I see where that form of thinking came from, and I think that it starts with privilege, and then I'm going to get to the other folks in a second. I'm going to get to them.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think they have more. They should be taken care of too.
Yes, and I'm going to get to that. So now, with the privileged people, that's just their thing. Like, they have been conditioned to interact with the world in a certain way and believe that the world's supposed to respond in a certain way. So then when someone says, well, no, unfortunately, you no longer get, this response.
Devastation.
Devastating. Devastating.
It's going to be devastating and devastation.
And
gonna flip out.
But I mean, they actually have laws on the books that support this, where they say that, this person has either so much money or so much riches or whatever. Which I said that money. They have so much money or they have so much privilege.
You're too big to fail.
They're too big to fail. They never experience consequences.
Nonsense.
And so because they never experience consequences, they don't get one at the courthouse neither after they don't do some horrendous crime.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I'm coming up with this out of nowhere. Like my theory is based on something. So, so when they encounter that response that says that, no, there is no job for you. No, there is no housing for you. No, we're not going to lower the rate because this is all you get paid. Or no, we're not going to take into consideration that, this shouldn't have happened in the USA and it shouldn't have happened to you. No, some stuff doesn't take into consideration your privilege. The virus really doesn't care. It doesn't care. So that's those folks. So now the folks you're talking about. So now let's just flip over to the other side for the folks like me, right? So now we're on the other side of the fence. Now there's some people that fall into the middle. The people that fall into the middle, they are paying their rent. It wasn't even a question. They already knew they had to pay their rent. So, but now for the people that fall on the other end of the spectrum, unfortunately, they feel as though someone should take into account their situation because this shouldn't have happened to me this way. Don't you see that every time I turn around, something else is knocking me back down? Don't you understand that I was just about to get back on my feet? Don't you understand that, this is not fair? I was already barely making it before this happened. I was already struggling. And now this situation happens and you should feel compassion towards me. And I call that a poverty mindset. And it's hurtful sometimes for someone to say that, but if you're in a situation where some outside entity...
I'm not going to say that. Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to let you. Because see, it's people like him that's going to help you stay in nonsense.
No,
and then,
that's not true.
With that statement,
but I understand your situation, the coronavirus. I can't, now just every day and nothing else. That's, I'm working 2 jobs and I get laid off both of them. But I am still in that situation. I'm barely paying my bills. I'm barely taking care of my. We see it all the time. We run into it. People always calling us on that. So I can't sit here and not have compassion for that.
Numerous people that move on their own because of the fact they don't have jobs and they're not going to sit there and run up a bunch of bills knowing that when it's all over,
that's true too,
they
but
can't afford to pay it back.
Because some people get caught up in foolishness and believe in nonsense that isn't true. So.
Okay, so let's dispel some of the myths about paying your bills right now. So they're saying
don't sit there and think they're not evicting people because they are.
They are.
I don't know why.
To find out.
People doing
it's just
that.
On a case-by-case
basis. It's a case-on-case basis or whatever they feel. Let us come in there needing to be evicted. Listen, I better stay my ass out the court.
That word.
Eviction court. Excuse my language. But I need to stay out of eviction court because they will evict me. So I'm not going there. I'm doing what I have to do to pay my rents. That's it and that's all.
At least work out a payment plan. Like you have to have some type of accountability
because
with that.
They will evict me. They're not.
And even if they give you some type of, postponement, because
I'm in Florida and I don't believe none of that nonsense.
No, I mean, when I called, what I was told was that it's on a case-by-case basis, that they're really not processing any, but they are still accepting the packets.
Okay.
So this is the thing. Let's just say they let your packet, let's say you're a lucky one and your packet gets to sit there, because people with their mortgages, they're getting like a 30-day.
They're getting 30 days.
They're getting 30 days. So let's just say they apply the same thing to you as a renter. And they say, okay, for 30 days, no one can evict you, blah, blah, blah. But when the end of that 30 days comes and you actually end up before the judge, not only are they going to want the current month's rent, they're going to want the last month's rent too. So it's like either you can postpone the inevitable, or you can have some accountability, make a payment plan or something. But unfortunately, the level of moral response that you're asking from businesses, small business owners, not even the corporations, because you're not even speaking with anyone at corporations, you're speaking with a customer service person who has protocols and they can't do a
small business people, everything else, and local people.
I think that you're looking for a little bit too much.
They're trying to survive too. That's like they need to survive too. Yeah. That's crazy to me.
Because now let's just look at that part too. So okay, let's just say that they want. No, that's what I was about to say. Like, I'm going to expand on what you're saying. So suppose that they say, oh, okay, I'm going to work with you. And then the bank only working with them for 30 days. So now they say, you know what? I'm about to be in over my head with this house. So as the owner is always the one who has the trump card. They have the trump card. Like, I've been to those housing meetings where they're trying to explain what the renter should do in order to, be able to negotiate the contract. You can't negotiate anything with someone who's the owner. It's either the owner is in a position where they really, really need you, and so they're going to concede. But if they're in a market that's completely saturated and they don't need you to be there, they're not going to work with you at all. They're going to say, what? We have some people we've met who they don't even see the place. They put the money down because that's how badly they want to play. And trust and believe, the landlords, property managers, all these people, they know that that's the market that they're dealing with. Mm-hmm. So they're not going to try to negotiate with you. But now let's just say that you have someone who wants to work with you. Okay, so once the bank says, no, we ain't interested in the plan you got with them. We need our money. And if not, then we're going to do X, Y, and Z. They say, okay, I'm in over my head on this. Let me sell it. And the next person who comes in doesn't even know you. They could care less. You're just a name on a piece of paper. They're going to be putting in a little thing for you to have to leave there, or they're going to ask you for way more rent than what you can afford. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, unfortunately, if you are a renter, then you don't have the trump cards. And one of the trump cards. Oh, why do we keep going back to But you don't have the wild card. And I mean, we're saying it like trying to put a little bit of a joke and spin on it, a little bit of bantering, back and forth. But at the end of the day, this part, I'm being so serious. This is why you don't sell. This is why grandma's house is important to the family and you don't sell it.
Exactly.
Whether they offer you $1 million, $2 million, they come offer you $10 million. You have to understand that is an asset that can be passed on generation to generation. As long as you keep up the taxes and don't let the place become dilapidated, you will constantly have something that can generate income for you. Whether as you renting it to someone, leasing it to someone, or just always having somewhere to go and lay down.
Because now, I see people, they piling up at houses because there's no housing out here. And they're piling up at houses. Families, they piling up. It's crazy.
Gentrification was real before COVID-19 and it still is. But Unfortunately, we have a market right now that is displacing people, and it's not that they don't know. They just said today there's going to be between 100,000 to 200 and something thousand people that are supposed to die in the U.S. And this is something that, number one, probably could have been curbed way more than, what's going on right now. But even bigger than that, it's just like, oh, well, this is just, part of nature. This is just something that's going to happen and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just like a statistic.
We're going to make the best of it is what they're basically saying.
But you want them to have a moral obligation to want to help.
It could have been, like Trump said, it could have been 2-point-something million people.
Because that was like the worst case scenario. So,
If he wouldn't have done such a great job he was doing, that's his exact word. It would have been 2-point-something million people dead if I wouldn't have got in there in time. Like,
Why do you keep talking about that?
Because I heard the speech. I just had to go. It's ridiculous. Like,
He
really.
shamed it.
Yeah, so we're gonna keep it at a 200. Like that.
He is doing a great job, and everything is great. If you would just allow it to be great.
If you stop saying that, because the wrong person to hear that, and they'll believe that foolishness.
I'm joking.
Please, because his followers know they believe all that.
That's why I'm saying it's great. It's very great. It's always great, and it's great to be great in America. It's great. I don't want no problems. I don't want no problems.
All right, let's
this
wrap
is
it
the
up.
thing. Just remember, no matter what side of the fence you're on, we all are part of the 99%. We are all going through this together. This is not a time to be bored. It's not a time to be aggravated. This is a time to be passionate. Be passionate about what it is that you have in your heart and in your mind that you want to do with your life. Like, you had goals, you had dreams, you had a creative desire to do something. And you said, it's because I don't have enough time. It's because of this. It's because of that. So now that you have a moment, get the kids on a schedule. You wanted those kids. Remember, you wanted them. You wanted them. So get them on a schedule. You know, Google, like I said, Google's your best friend. YouTube's your best friend. Google how to get my kids on a schedule. What's the best schedule for a 7-year-old? Do whatever it is you need to do in order for you to make your household a place where you can research and look into how to make your dreams come to pass, because we do have opportunities to develop generational wealth. We just happen to throw them away. We don't capitalize on opportunities. We allow people to steal opportunities. We give opportunities away.
Find a need.
Find a need.
And there's plenty of them. Trust and believe me. Find a need that works for you and supply it.
That's right. That's right. And if by some chance you can't supply the need,
plenty needs in a minute.
Yeah, you may have $50. You know, the other person has, you know, the yarn and the sew and the this and the that, and y'all come together and y'all put something down on paper and make it happen. Like, we just can't continue to be afraid of dealing with each other and afraid of giving someone, you know, the ability to help us. You know, I had someone tell me one time, I don't know why she doesn't come over here and get some help. She just came and asked me for sugar and stuff the other day. So the thing is, it's like, you know, we turn down opportunities to make progress because of the fact that we feel some kind of way. And that's crazy. Nowadays, we don't need to feel any kind of way. We are all part of the 99%. We are all going through something. So the thing is to use this time to reach out and try to figure out how you can make this a defining moment in your life and in the life of your children and your family.
Exactly.
Start a business. Be the example. Be that auntie or, you know, that
be
grandma.
Supportive.
Yeah, who made it happen, who
support
showed
is very
how to
important.
do it.
It's very important. Be supportive.
That's right.
Very important.
Be supportive, and you be surprised at who will come along and want to, you know, be supportive to you.
That's
so
right.
We definitely want to end tonight with another appeal that we are continuing our fundraiser. This fundraiser assists youth and families, mostly here in Pinellas County, definitely here in St. Petersburg. Right now, please, you know, if you are in the area, drop off your food donations to 9th Street South and 22nd Avenue South at Atwater's Soul Food Restaurant. He is feeding the children completely for free. These are hot meals. And so we definitely want these kids to have a semblance of normalcy, especially those households that are struggling when it comes to food.
Yes.
So, you know, we understand that there are some schools that are giving out food packages, but at the end of the day, you know that two meals is not, it doesn't include snack. It doesn't include, you know, whether or not that meal made them full.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the thing is that as many food resources as we can support, open up, you know, just it lends an extra hand to the overwhelming need that there is right now. So if you are, like I said, if you're in the area, please drop off your food donation right there to the location where the food is being given out. You know, that's going to be used for that purpose. And if you are not in the area, but you would like to support financially, please go to holisticcoaching.info and click on where it says nonprofit services. That's the easiest way to get to Firmly Established, which is our nonprofit. And
we have a donate button.
Yes, we have a donate button.
There you go.
So head on over. The link to Holistic Coaching and the link to Firmly Established website as well is in the comment or in the bio for wherever you're watching this. And we just thank you for tuning in to Late Night with Chris and Jan. We just appreciate you. Any closing remarks from you?
Y'all have a good night. And remember, be supportive and give and help each other. That's always important.
Yes.
Just
and begin and start off with also helping your family first by, like they say on the airplane, you know, you take that mask, you put it on your face, and then you help everyone else. So the thing is definitely get that mask on by looking into your creative passion and getting that business that you've always wanted to give a try. Find out how you can get it started at the ground level. Don't knock humble beginnings. Get started on the ground level. That's and right. Watch it grow. So we thank you once again. Thank you so much for joining us, and have an awesome rest of the evening.
Good nighty.
How am I going to let my life be ruled by a cup of coffee?
Because you feel they were caring about their coffee drinkers, or their employees.
No, I feel like I don't know if the employees are safe, and I don't think that it's safe for me to drink that coffee.
But the thing is, they're not letting people on the inside, though. So
I mean, it's safe for everybody else. I think they should go.
They're not letting anybody in, so you can't go inside the store. So that's good too. This a little bit helps, I think, unless your coworker got something, then that's different. Who was doing what? Bless you. Bless you again.
Thank
you. See, 2 times. I know my wife, she sneezes 2 times all the time. It's the weirdest thing ever. I hope so.
So, where were we?
But what if you're still working? Do you get it?
That's a good. You get the stimulus check, I think.
If you're still working.
You should. They said that come out to every American.
What? That's not okay. No, I can't even talk
about that. All right, paying your bills.
That's not
Are you okay? So
this
is look. You told me that we have to make this concise. You say you can't do all this talking.
But you did all the talking and everything else, so we might as well get to what you got going on. No, you don't end it. You got to stop, right? You're gonna mess up the recording because you're recording still. Yeah, pause it, all right? We're supposed to do a countdown thing. What happened now? Before you, so you can edit. So you're gonna 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We out.
This is what I'm going.
Do this ahead. Cut.